Spirit speaks right now that we are shifting agreements on a collective level through an overhaul of our systems. This is financial, our academic and educational institutions, our religious institutions, the entertainment industry, the government, the military complex. All of these systems are, from Spirit's perspective, literally already dissolved. But from our perspective, they are disintegrating. And there's a bit of anxiety or this fear plus confusion that is happening right now, which is causing people to kind of want to plug back into the old systems, that which really is no longer serving us. And instead of opening to our own spirit, opening to our own soul, and recognizing that we creatively and together have already brought forth the new systems and the new solutions that are coming into place within this new earth reality. And so as we shift these agreements, we are going to find that we're shifting these agreements within our own personal lives, but we're also going to see these outer structures begin to change. And Spirit says that for a while, it's going to look very polarized. It's going to look like one of those pirate ships at the amusement park that's going one way and then it's going the other way, and it's making us sick in both directions. And what we're being asked to do is to not cling or not attach to what was, but instead to be open to being the scouts and to being the visionaries of what is coming next. And so Spirit asked tonight, what are some of our collective agreements? And does anyone have anything that comes to mind? What is something that we are collectively agreeing to right now? This is where you need Tom, because you know he'd have like 6 in the bullet right now. So I will just go with, oh, we got somebody. We got somebody.
So what comes to mind for me, this is Heather speaking, by the way, is sort of all of the collective agreements that started coming up in regards to what was considered acceptable regarding as far as health safety. There were collective agreements happening there, although it was very polarized.
Absolutely. Yeah. And continues to be. Feels like that is definitely part of the big dismantling right now. Hold on, I am just shifting my view here. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'm figuring this out as we go tonight. But you're totally right, Heather. We are not in a harmony of opinion around what has happened over the last 2 years. It's hard to put 6 people in a room and have everyone agree that how everything went down was exactly how it should be. And from Spirit's perspective, you know, we on a human level are like, man, like all we see is how much like disagreement there is. But when I was in meditation today, Spirit was like, what about the collective agreement of choosing to stop at red lights and stop signs, and how everyone pulls to the side of the road for emergency vehicles? And, you know, allegedly we have the ability to vote and participate in the process of our elected officials, and that is a collective agreement. And Spirit saying, you know, just even using currency or money for goods and services, or using banks, choosing to buy our food, all of us from grocery stores. These are all collective agreements that Spirit is saying over the next 10 to like 20, 30 years, we are going to be really examining to see, are these serving us at the level of soul, or are these, you know, part of that predator prey reality that is simply just trying to profit over itself until it basically extinguishes itself. And so tonight we're going to talk a little bit about what some of our personal agreements are, because I know for myself personally, I've had to shift over the last couple months how I operate in certain ways, because those agreements were no longer serving me. And it was more habitual to just be in this pattern than it was necessarily to tune into what my body, my mind, emotional, mental needs really were in that moment. And Spirit speaks to these personal agreements as roles that we have established within our personal, our family, and our romantic partnerships, as well as our career relationships and responsibilities. And we're asked right now to really reflect what agreements are being called to shift individually for us and what agreements are being called to shift collectively. And here, Spirit spoke to the fact that humans have been relying on this energy of codependence for a very long time. But in order to truly express our souls and our sovereignty, we need to move to interdependence. So this is not independence where we are, on our own, completely sovereign, needing nothing. But this is not the codependence of feeling like we're going to be lost or clinging to another because we believe we need them, or on the other side, are enabling another person because, we don't think they're able to do something for themselves. And so this is all kind of coming into our faces right now, Spirit is saying, so that we move from this frequency of codependence into interdependence. And Spirit speaks to the collective shifting from the lower fourth density, where we're facing our fears, our anxieties, and our traumas, and we're moving into higher fourth density. But it does take courage and the willingness to co-create with our higher mind. And once we begin doing that, we start talking about weave, which is something that we bring up often on these calls and in our groups, because it's Spirit's word for how our interior realms are interacting with what we might call the mundane, but when we start tuning into it, the very magical, ordinary world. And so when we enter this higher fourth density, we're moving out of that nightmares energy. We're moving more into that dreamscapes energy where we have the ability to vision our life and to ask Spirit for a vision of our life so that we can begin co-creating with this higher divine mind. And that automatically shifts us into what we would call fifth density, or the frequency in which our thoughts immediately become things. And we can often get concerned, like, why am I, not like raising my vibration or expanding my consciousness, in this way? I want to be in like fifth density, and Spirit's like, you do, but you don't, because if you're there, everything that you are thinking is going to be manifesting right in front of you. So you want to be a master of time and space to some degree. You want to be a master of your own emotional state, your own mental state, before we cross that bridge into the fifth density, because we don't want to be bringing some of that lower vibrational baggage along. And normally we would not cross into this density until we leave the physical form. And in the death is when we shift, is when we lose that density. But we are actually now being encouraged and challenged to do that in our physical forms. So we are shifting into fifth density, once again, the frequency in which our thoughts immediately become things. And we must work through our personality matrix and our soul traumas, which will be presented to us in the third density, in the third dimensions, as well as the lower fourth dimension and densities, in order to allow us to cross this bridge of consciousness into the interior realms of the soul. And once we are in the interior realms of the soul, not only are we being guided by weave, but we are able to act as weave. And Spirit said this does not require endless focus or examination, simply allowing our personality and soul woundings to rise to the surface, express themselves as a hurt child might, embrace them, and integrate them into the larger fabric of who we are. So one of the kind of trip ups on some of these spiritual reflections is we can kind of go in these endless spirals of focus and self examination. And Spirit is saying instead, just give it 90 seconds, like give it 90 seconds of like a child coming to you saying like, my knee is so bad, and you as the parent can see it's just a minor scrape, but obviously that child is having a much grander experience. And so we're going to allow that experience while holding space for the true reality, which is with a little bit of a kiss and a little band-aid, all will be well and everyone will be back to playing. And that is how it looks and it feels from Spirit's perspective.